Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Movie Monday. This week, I'm touching on The War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, I went and saw this over this last weekend, having not seen any of the prior Planet of the Apes movies, either in this trilogy or in any of the other iterations of Planet of the Apes. Just never really has been my kind of cup of tea. But I was like, gotta make some content, so made the decision to go check it out. And I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I didn't really feel like I was missing out on anything, having not watched the prior two movies. The opening of the movie has some text on screen that kind of, in like one sentence, describes what happened in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then in another one, what happened in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And that's pretty much all the backstory you need. A virus took out most of humanity and made apes smart, and apes kind of rebelled, and in the last movie, one particular ape kind of led a war against humanity, but then Caesar took him out. But now humanity fears Caesar, who's the main character played by Andy Serkis, and kind of this is Caesar's trilogy of movies. And even though it's CGI work entirely, it was really impressive how lifelike and emotive the ape performances are in this film. That was probably what blew me away the most, was that I found myself connecting with these characters, even though I'm knowing in the back of my head that it's people like Andy Serkis with a million little dots on their face that have been digitally kind of recreated in ape form. The one thing I was left kind of confused by, having not watched previous movies, is the fact that Caesar talks and everybody else, all the other apes, talk through sign language, but some of them can talk, so I was kind of confused on why some talk and why some only sign and whatnot. And then we got introduced to a character called Bad Ape, played by Steve Zahn, who's very much like the comic relief of the film. He used to be an ape in captivity at a zoo, and when kind of humanity fell, he taught himself, he learned how to speak from hearing other people talk. But he's lived in isolation away from other apes for quite some time, and so he's kind of an outsider, but he's got just a lot of great little physical moments as well as just lots of great line deliveries, which isn't surprising knowing that Steve Zahn played the character. Probably one of my favorite surprises of the film was him. Another standout performance in here is Woody Harrelson as the Colonel, who's very much kind of ruthless military man, and when he starts fearing that the virus is mutating and turning humans into kind of mute creatures who can't speak anymore, who lose their voice, that's what has driven him over the edge, and that's what sets him on the path of destroying Caesar and ape kind. So the story is very much kind of a jailbreak type of story. Caesar and a small crew go on a quest for vengeance towards the Colonel, and in their absence, the rest of Caesar's tribe are picked up by the Colonel's men and kidnapped and taken off to basically a labor camp, effectively. And so the thrust of the movie becomes a mix of Caesar's quest for vengeance as well as freeing his tribe. There are a lot of great little moments throughout. Humor, again, as I touched on with a lot of the stuff that Steve Zahn does, but also just a lot of very kind of tugging at the heartstrings moments. A lot of that led between the character Maurice and newcomer Nova, who is a little girl who's been affected by this virus and can't speak anymore, but gets kind of adopted into the ape tribe by Maurice, saying he can't leave the girl there alone to die in the wilderness. And even though she can't speak, she has an incredibly emotive face, and so just like the ape characters on screen that you get to see so much just even in their eyes and their facial expressions, you get the same thing with Nova, played by newcomer Amaya Miller, and she just knocks it out of the park with everything that she's kind of tasked to do. There's some great action sequences. But I think probably the scenes that stick with me the most are the scenes between Andy Serkis's Caesar and Woody Harrelson's Colonel, and kind of the real confrontation between the two of them. Neither of them are painted as one-dimensional. You get layers upon layers to each of the characters, even in this movie that has already been building on Caesar for 2 other movies. Not knowing anything from those movies, really, I still kind of felt that he was a very fleshed-out character, so to speak. So those are my thoughts on War for the Planet of the Apes. As somebody who hasn't seen any of the other Planet of the Apes movies, I thought it was a good movie. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. It made me maybe want to go back and watch the other movies in the series. I haven't yet. I don't know if I'll have time to anytime soon, but I was intrigued to go back and look at the origins of this story based on this story and how it played out. So let me know what you thought about War for the Planet of the Apes in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, ooh, ooh, ah, ooh.